So you want to make Vanguard content. This is something I've been asked about for the 6 years that I've been doing Vanguard YouTube, basically, especially after I developed a bit of a following, and basically just how to get started on doing Vanguard YouTube and, you know, the steps, the gear, you know, editing programs, all that kind of stuff. So I thought I would make this video kind of just like compiling all that info. It's not very relevant to, you know, any format or the game itself, but for fellow content creators, you know, that want to get started on how things go. Now, I will not be covering stuff like, you know, YouTube settings or Twitch, like how to set up your channel. You can find those very easily, you know, and as you're creating your accounts, like I know that YouTube, for example, walks you through everything pretty well, so as long as you take a moment to read, you know, take a moment to maybe watch some tutorials on how to set up your stream on Twitch and stuff like that, you'll find that kind of information. So what we're going to be covering today instead is, we're going to look at the kind of recommended gear, we're going to look at the kind of free resources you can get online in terms of like your layouts, if you want to make that your, you know, editing software, sound effects, all that kind of stuff that you might want to use and add into your content. So one thing I'll immediately say is that, of course, you're seeing me from a nice visual, you know, it's a nice camera, nice lens and everything like that. But what I'm going to tell you is that the visual is not necessarily the most important part. Yes, it is important, but that's something you can treat a bit later. The by far most important thing whenever you make any kind of content is the microphone. Now the microphone, there's nothing more essential, let me put this down. In my opinion, there's nothing more essential when you're making content than your sound quality, because even if you don't have visuals, if you don't show your face, if you're just recording your computer screen, like if you're doing a zero video or something, it doesn't matter. Your visuals don't really matter. What matters the most is your sound, because people can make do and watch less good quality videos, but they cannot make do with terrible sound. And so the first thing I'm going to cover is going to be microphones. So in terms of microphones, I actually use one of the most best budget microphones in the market, and I'm soon upgrading to one of the better ones that, like, it took me 6 years to upgrade actually, but I've been happy with this mic for so long. And this is the Samson Go Mic. So the Samson Go Mic, I think, goes for about 40 bucks or something. It's pretty cheap for the kind of quality you get. If you've been watching my channel for the last few years, it's always been this quality, unless it's worse, in which case I'm like abroad or something and filming through my phone's microphone or something. But generally, I've always used the Samson Go Mic. I'm only now going to be upgrading to a Rode NTUSB, which I ordered a while ago, but it's been out of stock for a while, so I'm not getting it yet. But that's my next kind of tip, is that if you're low on budget, and especially if you're just starting out, you're not sure if you want to do this seriously, but you want to give it a wholehearted go, you know, not just like half-assed, you know, not your like gaming headset mic. Don't do that. Those are really, really bad. You're honestly better off, if you have a good phone, you're better off using the microphone of your phone than like a gaming headset mic, because those are generally quite bad. And so, but I really recommend the Samson Go Mic. It's cheap, it's easy to set up, it literally, you can just sit it down on your table, and then the only way to enhance it, really, I mean, I guess two ways to enhance it. So you can see here, I have a little stand for it that I like to keep it on. That might have actually, I hope you didn't hear me tapping there. And the other thing I have is this pop filter. So the pop filter is a very important piece, because when I go pop, 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 pop piece, you know, stuff like that, you don't hear this obnoxious popping sound, and instead you hear a nice quality audio. And these pop filters go for really cheap, like 10 bucks or even less. So they're really cheap. I know for a fact you can get the Samson Go Mic for like basically anywhere in the world, Amazon all over the world. I know my friend Chrism from Malaysia managed to get it from like the Malaysian, basically Amazon, also for a good price. So it's pretty easy to get, and it's a really, really good mic. So by far, I recommend that the most. And then if you're upgrading, you know, you can go for a Blue Yeti if you have more money, or a Rode NT-USB. You know, there's a bunch of other options, but you can do some extra research for that. But for starting out, I really recommend this one. Otherwise, you can go with your phone. Now we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna talk about cameras, because I think cameras and webcams and stuff are important, whether you're doing physical TCG Vanguard or if you're doing zero, because it's good to have a face cam. Some people are not very comfortable with showing their face. I think personally it's good to have an association with a face as well as a voice. You know, some people like to just use their voice, or, you know, go with the virtual YouTuber path and, like, you know, make their like live 2D kind of avatar, which is also fine. I don't know how that works, so I can't really tell you much about it. You can look into that yourselves if you're interested. But in terms of starting out with visuals, like, I have this nice camera right now. This is my main camera, but it took me a while to set it up like this, because I actually have to use a capture card that normally goes into consoles and put a HDMI into the camera, which is kind of a weird way to do it, but it works, as you can see. But what I normally used for quite a while for the gaming kind of video, so Vanguard EX and Vanguard Zero, was my webcam, which looks like this. So you can see the mess in the back, but as you can see, the quality is way worse, and it's like it's not even comparable. Like the walls look white when they're actually green, you know? So that's the kind of difference in quality, but even then, it's not bad. You know, you can still see me, it's still pretty okay. If you just adjust the lighting a little bit, you know, because my lighting now is adjusted for this camera, and I would have to like readjust it for this camera. But so the webcam, it's pretty okay. If you watched a lot of my Zero videos, they were shot with that webcam. If you watched my like Vanguard EX videos, they were shot with that webcam, and that webcam is a Logitech C920. Now, I think this is one of the most popular webcams in the market, and therefore now because of the quarantine period, a lot of people, you know, they need webcams for their work at home, and so therefore the webcam is kind of sold out everywhere, but I think it will be restocking soon, and there are other alternatives on the market. You might need to do a little bit more research to see, but generally I would not recommend going lower than this, simply because it's like your quality will get a lot worse. Some laptops, of course, you know, like do have built-in webcams as well that you can use, but they will not be that great. But again, like I said, the most important thing is your audio, not your video. So you can go with a cheaper webcam, but I think the most important thing, especially if you're streaming, you can go with a cheaper webcam because your face will be in a small box anyway, but audio, like I said, super important. If you're recording TCG videos, however, in terms of cameras, generally there's quite a few of these like good like YouTuber starter cameras. One of them is the Canon Powershot G7X. This is a pretty old camera, I think, by now, but it's still a very like kind of like a standard basically for YouTubers. It's good quality, it has good autofocus, like the colors are nice and all of that. There's a plenty of these, like you can easily Google like best budget cameras 2020, you know, and stuff like that, or like best YouTuber cameras 2020, etc. You get a bunch of options depending on your budget. I recommend also, if you're starting out and you're not sure if you're going to take YouTube seriously or not, to look for used cameras, so like a second-hand camera. You know, if you're younger or you still live with your parents, you can ask your parents for their camera and stuff like that. But an important thing that a lot of people forget is that phones like iPhone, you know, I have an iPhone 8 Plus. I recorded with this for quite a while because my old camera, actually this camera's lens broke. I had to bust out this thing, so I had to bust out my camera and my phone camera, and it works pretty well. Especially if you have some of the later iPhones, they have even better cameras, so they're actually really good for recording videos. And then I think some of the recent Samsung ones have pretty good cameras and stuff like that. So honestly, iPhone does good work. So don't be afraid to use your phone. Like people, I don't know, it's not like you're trying, like of course you're trying to be big. You're trying to get big, probably, you know, if you're starting YouTube seriously, you want to get big, at least 10k subs and stuff like that, and then, you know, you want to have good quality. But it's not wrong to start out with something lower, and this isn't even low. Like starting out with your phone as a camera or as a microphone is perfectly fine, and you can definitely work with it, and so that's perfectly cool. So then in terms of tripods, I don't really have any specific, like I use a very bog standard, like your typical cheapest tripod you can find, and I don't really know them too well, so whatever you kind of find that fits your price point works pretty well. So for a phone, I use this kind of like attachment for a tripod that you can use to basically like plug your phone in here, and it holds it onto the tripod, which is very nice, and so that's pretty good as well. Other than that, like the camera I use, for example, is the Olympus PEN EPL-9, and so for example, like if you want to copy that, go ahead, but the camera isn't that great. It is on a cheaper side, I think, but at least it's like, it does good quality, as you can see. And I really hope I don't forget to cover anything in this video, because I keep getting random ideas of like, oh, I need to say that too. So now, another thing that we're going to talk about is that this will be like, of course, this whole video is like, some of it is specific to Zero, some of it is specific to like TCG, some stuff is both. So now the next thing that I want to talk about is your background. So for example, my background actually isn't that great. You can, like, it's not very organized because I'm just in my room and I can't really do too much about it. So I kind of just have to position myself around my computer. Sometimes I record on the other side where I have my two computer screens in the back. Looks a bit cleaner. Those of you that have been watching my videos for a while will know that. Otherwise, I used to film like this. This used to be my angle before, where you would see this wall that's over there that you can't see now anymore. And now when I'm doing like streaming and stuff like that, and like the videos these days with a new lens, you see my like the figure case in the back here. You have a little couple wall scrolls here in the back as well. So it's not that tidy, but it's like there's not too much going on, and there's not like a huge mess or anything. It still looks like there's stuff just like in there. What some people do, and I wanted to do myself as well, especially now that the quarantine is lifted here and I can actually go to stores and stuff, is pick up like colored LEDs. That way you can put them in the background. So you'll see a lot of streamers have like, you know, purple and like red and blue. They'll have a bunch of like LEDs in the back to make their background look a bit smoother, kind of that like lo-fi vibe in a way. And so it's good to have that. It makes your background look nicer. And the important thing when you're starting out on YouTube is that, like, when I'll be talking about mindsets a bit later in this video, but an important thing is that you don't want to just like do the bare minimum. You want to look at what everyone else is doing and go one step higher in a way, if you can afford it. Because the best way to grow is by outdoing everyone else. That's why, like, you know, when Vanguard came in, he outdid everyone else with his upload schedule and his quality, and then, you know, like, Vanguard Insider outdid everyone with his cool layouts and like the way that he like structures his information in videos. And so every time a new big YouTuber shows up into the sphere of Vanguard, the Vanguard community, it always is because they one-upped everyone else in some way. And then that makes people like me, you know, that were here for quite a long time, to also respond to that, because then, okay, then I gotta also upgrade my stuff, I gotta do something better, you know, this, that, you know, and so you kind of try to one-up each other in a way, but like you're still cooperating and working together, but at the same time you want to get better yourself too. So that's a whole fun part of YouTube, is that you learn from others and you try out new things. Another thing that you'll notice here, I was talking about lighting earlier, and so for example, lighting I think is not as important when you're starting out. It will make your video look cleaner if you're using, you know, you're recording your face. So I use, for example, the Elgato Key Light, which is a bit pricey, but if you look on Amazon for like basic studio lighting, you can find some stuff for really cheap, like 30 bucks and stuff like that, that will definitely make do. And I used those kind of things for years actually before I got this one recently. So there's a lot of options, and you can work with your lighting in a way. If you enjoy like cinematography and that kind of stuff, you already know these kind of things and you'll know what's best. But like I can give you the bare basics and the minimum knowledge, and you can like take it further to like Google around and see what actually fits you better. Alright, then another thing that you'll notice that is like some YouTubers do it, some YouTubers don't, but I personally love to, is to have background music in the videos. And so where can you get background music, especially with copyright laws being so strict and stuff like that? So of course you can use, like for example, what I sometimes do literally is have zero running in the background while I'm recording, because that way I can get the zero background music playing in my video without actually showing zero on screen. So that's, for example, just like a little trick, I guess. But what you can also do is, of course, just look for royalty-free music. So you can just like search on YouTube, you know, for royalty-free music. You'll find plenty of it that you can safely use. YouTube even has its own kind of like storage base where they just tell you like, oh, here's a bunch of music you can pick from. I personally like this website called Dova Syndrome. It's Japanese, which might make it a little bit difficult to maneuver, but it's not that difficult actually. And basically you can find a lot of different BGM there that's like sorted by popularity, by new like additions, and like different styles, different moods, different themes. And I basically pull a lot of mine from there. And actually one of my best friends, Can You Say G, when he was starting out on his YouTube, I was like, yeah, just go there. And he now uses a new piece of BGM from that website every single video basically, and so you can kind of see where that like went into effect. So yeah, this is like, you can basically go through Dova Syndrome and find a bunch of good stuff, but keep in mind it's Japanese, so it's a bit hard to navigate, but still it's very nice, and there's a lot of good BGM there that you can use for your videos. Another thing, of course, is sound effects. Now sound effects, some editing programs come with like basic ones that you can use as well, but you can also Google for a bunch of them. You know, you have this like children like yay one, and then you have like the ding, the bell that you hear a lot of people use, and like, you know, there's a bunch of different ones that you'll be able to just Google around and find on your own. It's generally pretty easy, just takes a bit of effort. Alright, now the next thing is, of course, editing. So where should you be editing your videos? And please, like, this is the first lesson you should be taking out of this, even though the video is pretty long already, is don't upload raw footage. Even if you're recording gameplay between your friends, like, unless it's literally from start to finish, nothing in between, you should still not upload a raw file. You should edit it and at least, like, you know, compress it, make it easier to, it'll be a smaller file to upload. You can add some like effects, you can put like the player names, you know, on here kind of thing, and then, you know, you can do a bunch of stuff with it if you want to. But editing is very important. You cannot get by on YouTube these days without editing your videos, and without like at least doing the minimal cuts, and, you know, taking out your ums and awkward pauses and like breathing. That's like a meme that's like, you don't let people know that you can breathe, you know. Take out those like parts where you can hear, like, you know, you stop and then you start talking. You know, there's always this, for those of you that do YouTube, you know that, like, you know, you'll be recording and then there'll be this, like, you'll say a sentence and then you'll stop, and then there's always this, and like you start with a, and then, you know, you continue talking because you need more air to like push your next sentence through. But you heard it, right? You hear it sometimes. Like, I don't take it out all the time because I talk pretty fast, so I can kind of like mask it by just talking quickly, and then people don't notice it. But for a lot of YouTubers, see there, I just did it. For a lot of YouTubers, they have to really take a second. They have to take a second to, like, you know, breathe in and like come up with their next sentence. Or people use a script and stuff like that. I personally, I've scripted like 3 videos in my, or maybe 5 or 6 in my entire 6 years of doing YouTube. I almost never script. Everything rolls off like paragraphs, or like, not paragraphs, like bullet points. Literally, I have a bullet point sitting on my screen that I'll, like, you know, just use to, like, I already know what I'm gonna say. I just need the bullet point to like trigger my memory. So, but people have different styles. You can script your videos, you can go freestyle like I do, and, you know, it's generally pretty easy to go like that. But I didn't even get to the point. Editing. Where are you going to be doing your editing? You're going to be doing it on HitFilm Studio. That is what I recommend. It's a free software that I used for years, actually. So right now I use Final Cut Pro, which is a paid software on Mac, and so I always edit on my laptop, basically. But HitFilm Studio is a really good program because it basically gives you everything for free. It might look like you have to pay for a bunch of things, but you actually don't have to pay anything to get not just the basic features, but actually quite a lot of nice features. They have some nice transitions, they give you some nice effects, you know, a bunch of nice stuff, and it's pretty easy to use, honestly. Like, it might take a little bit if you've never used an editing software, because, like, it's just a different way of treating stuff in general. Like, you've never treated a video, so of course, you know, it's not just like cropping, you know, just like sliding stuff on your phone to like change the length of a video. You have to learn some shortcuts and stuff like that, but HitFilm Studio is really easy to use. There's a lot of resources on how to use it well online as well, and overall it's just very simple. I'd really recommend it. It's on Mac, it's on Apple, it's on Mac and it's on Windows, and it's very easy to learn as well. So HitFilm Studio is a very good one for editing. Now, if you want to stream, you are going to need a program to actually put up the stream. And also for recording nowadays, I use the same program too, which is OBS Studio. Now, there's two different kinds. There's OBS Studio, which got like the bare basics, and also has a lot of more like, it doesn't have as much of like the extras added on top of it, and the one with the extras is Streamlabs OBS, which comes with a bunch of other functions, like graphical design stuff and all that sort of stuff. I don't personally use Streamlabs OBS, I use the regular OBS Studio, but you're gonna need that. That's a must if you want to be streaming, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. That's how, you know, I can, like, literally, you're gonna hear me talk, but I can switch between like different screens here. For example, here I used to have this, like, you know, chat and chill section, you know, to talk to people with, and then here I would have like a starting soon kind of screen when I start streaming. Here is my, like, you know, when I do 0, I can switch to this. When I'm done streaming, I go to this thank you for watching. When I like used to be right back on streams, I would do this. When I'm playing, like, I don't know, when I'm showing, let's see, like, I don't know, I had one for like 2 phones, but it's all messy. Here's like when I do other video games and stuff like that, and then here's like the camera view. So your, like, OBS can do so much for you. OBS can do so much for you, whether you're recording or streaming, and it's very, very important. And of course, when you're streaming, you might want to have a little layout on top of that. So you'll notice here that, for example, let me show you here, I have my layout for 0 videos and streams, right? So this was made by my graphics designer. I have a graphics designer. I've had one ever since I started doing this. She makes all of my thumbnails, all of them. You can give her a follow on Twitter @BelladonnaToxin, but she makes all of the thumbnails on my channel, all the visuals, all, like, everything visual that is not the video, any graphics, all made by her. So she does amazing work. She's literally half the reason why my channel is even successful in the first place, because she does such a great job. But not everyone has a person like that, or not everyone has a skill like that, because I personally don't. I suck at this. You know, I've tried multiple times to learn it, and I'm terrible at it. I really can't. Even when I do make them, they don't look anywhere near as nice. But luckily, Bushiroad actually provides layouts like this for free, which a lot of people don't know. So you load up this very cool website, which is called vanguard0.bushimo.jp/fankit. So here you have the fan kit. So what you have here is, would you look at that, layouts for your stream. You also have PC backgrounds, you have smartphone backgrounds, you have like Twitter headers if you want to put that on your profile. You have profile pictures you can put as your icon as well for clans and for characters and all that stuff. And these are all free to use. Bushiroad just says, hey, take these, we want you to make content. So what are these? These are 1080 resolution stream backgrounds, basically. You have a bunch of different patterns, you just click on it and it gives it to you. You see that? You just click on it and it goes straight up, gives it to you. And so as you can see here, of course, like these, the gray area is where you put your phone screen, so where you put your 0 screen. So you can either have it in the middle or on the left side, and you can have Aichi and Kai in here, or you can go without them. I personally prefer without them. And then you have different colors. And so this one is the United Sanctuary one, this is the Dragon Empire one, this is the Stargate one, then the Dark Zone one, the Megalanica one, as well as the Zoo one. So you can choose your favorite color. For example, I like Stargate, so I'm gonna go with this one. And then you basically just like download the picture, put it into your OBS, put your 0 screen on one side, and then you can put, like, you know, you can put here, you can put your webcam, or like here you can put your webcam, you can put your chat somewhere here, like you can put a deck list somewhere here. These are just ready-made stream backgrounds for you. So you can, like, for example, take this one, right? So for example here, you can already see it fits for me, right? So I have my face down here, as you can see, hello, and then you can have this would be where your 0 goes, and then here you can have like your stream chat, for example, and then here you can, or like here you can put your deck list, here you can put your stream chat or something like that, or your like notification screen, whatever the hell you want. But yeah, so Bushiroad actually gives these cool backgrounds for free, and a lot of people don't even know about it because it's on the Japanese site and on the English one. But again, these are all free resources for you to take and use. So now we're going to talk about the kind of like mindsets and strategies. You want to have this kind of like approach of trying to one-up people or doing something a bit special, but keep in mind that you shouldn't be demotivated that if someone else did the same thing that you can't do it now too. For example, one thing you'll notice is that basically every big Vanguard YouTuber does react to the Tuesday Bushiroad streams where they announce new cards, new products, new whatever. And so why does everyone do them? If you can always go like, oh, well, if one guy is going to do it, then why should I? Because people care about their reactions. They want to see how everybody reacts to it, what everybody thinks about it. And so there's like some things that people just want to see. Of course, the like same goes for like, I don't know, like deck profiles from like Zero or from the TCG. Just because someone else covered the deck doesn't mean that you shouldn't. You might have some information that they don't. And especially like you can learn from what they uploaded, and even if you're uploading after them, you can then go like, okay, he talked about this, but he didn't talk about this, so I'll talk about this a bit more. You know, so you can find your like extra thing you can add to it and make your content unique. Every person's content is unique, and every person's content is valuable because of that. Because your content, even if it's covering the same thing, it's not going to be the same in terms of the value. It's going to be bringing something else to the table, if that makes sense. Now, another thing that you have to have in terms of mindset is that, like, especially with YouTube and with Twitch, is that you need to not let the numbers control you. Like, for example, on Twitch, if you're starting out and you have like 1 or 2 or 3 viewers, like that can be pretty annoying, especially if it goes on for like a month, you know, and or like even if you have like 10 or 20 and it's like not going up at all, then you might have to start thinking, okay, what can I do different? But don't let that like damage you. If it really is starting to control you and like make you like miserable, then it might be better to stop, you know, or do something else, or just like if you can't like even if you're trying different things and it's still not working out, then it might generally like not be worth it, you know, just to put in that much time and like that much like, you know, not to go through the suffering, I guess. But it's always worth to keep trying, because like for me, like this is one thing that I really need to emphasize, is that you don't get big on YouTube overnight. You don't get big on Twitch overnight. You literally, like, these things don't happen overnight. They don't happen in a week. They don't happen in a month, unless you're really good at something, or if you have a following from somewhere else. And this is one thing I really have to emphasize, that I've been making videos on YouTube since I was a kid. Like, I literally have been uploading. None of it is like available on YouTube anymore for the most part. But like, I started uploading Vanguard YouTube videos in like 2012, like on and off here and there. But I seriously started pursuing YouTube at the end of 2014. So that was already like, it took me 3 years to even like start doing it seriously. And then I got big somewhere in 2015. So it took what, 3 years to actually gain like 1,000 subscribers, you know, like something like that. So it takes forever. And like I had previous channels in the past, like I used to cover stuff like Bakugan back in the day when I was a kid, you know, and that channel never grew past like 400 something subs in like the years that I spent doing that, because that's just how it is. Like, unless, like, sometimes you just don't get it. So it's more important to do YouTube because you enjoy it, because you want to make videos, you want to make content, you want to stream, you want to, it's your way of spending your free time. It's your, like, interest, it's your passion. It's something that you want to pursue. It's not something that you're like, you shouldn't be going into it to make money, because especially with Vanguard, you're not going to make that much money. Let me be completely honest with you. You cannot live full-time off of Vanguard. And I think, like, if I'm telling you that, I don't know if there's anyone else that can tell you that otherwise. Like, you cannot pay for rent and have food every month on your plate consistently straight up by just doing Vanguard content creation. You just can't. Like, maybe in some countries, like for me, it's a situation with my numbers and like with what I'm doing. If I moved to like a certain country, like I don't know, like in Eastern Europe or something, I could maybe live full-time off of Twitch and YouTube, maybe, like, but I would still like not have like that many savings. I would be kind of like, you know, going paycheck to paycheck, and it wouldn't be a very safe and stable life. So while it is getting close to that, you know, it's still not enough. Maybe in the future this will change. Maybe in the future it will be possible to live off of Vanguard, but right now that's not the case. So you should not be going into this with the idea, I'm gonna live off of YouTube. I'm gonna be a full-time Vanguard YouTuber, and that's gonna, like, I don't need to have a job, I don't need to have my studies or anything. No. It's perfectly fine for it to be your main passion, because for me, once I started doing YouTube seriously, I stopped doing anything else seriously that was not my studies or my job. So I still did my job seriously, I did my studies seriously, but for example, I stopped playing Vanguard competitively. Like, I stopped like playtesting properly for tournaments, like putting in like the just hundreds of hours of playtesting required to actually be good and to top at regionals, you know, and stuff like that. I stopped doing that. I don't have time for that because every video takes hours to do, and I have to produce a bunch of videos every week, and it just takes a lot of time, and it takes time to come up with ideas, it takes time to make the content and all that stuff, you know. And sometimes like some of the really good videos that like get tens of thousands of views, they don't just happen just like that. You don't just press record and that's it, the video is done. The recording is the easiest part. That's the other thing I gotta say. The recording will take the least amount of time and it's the easiest part. Things that will take the longest are the preparation, so coming up with the idea, you know, scripting if you do scripting, bullet points if you're doing bullet points, or just like the content, creating the content that you're going to talk about. That's going to take forever. And then the editing will take hours, especially if you're doing like a lot of effects and stuff. That will take forever. It will take forever. It will take so long. And so that's why I really got to say, like, it's a time consuming thing. So for me, when I started doing YouTube seriously, I basically said, okay, I'll still play some games on the side, you know, I'm still gonna like do stuff on the side. But for example, like there would be times where I would tell my friends, like when they asked me to hang out, I'd be like, no, sorry, I gotta get this video out maybe some other time, you know. Like I prioritize YouTube over hanging out with friends. I prioritize YouTube over playing some games with friends. You know, I prioritize YouTube over, like if a friend goes like, oh, can we play test? I'll be like, no, sorry, I gotta get a video done. You know, that's just how it is. And like, you know, sometimes you'll have to turn down things and be like, no, sorry, I gotta make videos for the next week and stuff like that. And so you might have to adapt that kind of mindset, especially if you want to succeed in the community. You might have to adapt that kind of mindset and, you know, start doing things with that in mind. But yeah, I think in terms of mindset, it's just like that's the main stuff. It's very important to have a schedule. God, I can't emphasize this enough. The reason why I succeeded on YouTube, in my opinion, is because I had a schedule. Back in 2014, you could afford to upload 2-3 times a week and still succeed. These days, the YouTube algorithm wants you to upload every day. And so that's pretty extreme and it can be very difficult. But keep in mind, you can go kind of two angles. Either you go for quantity, where you go like every day or every other day, or like 4 to 5 times a week, and you know, maybe it's not as like high effort, but it's good videos, you know, your entertaining personality and stuff like that. Your personality is quite important, but keep in mind, another thing that I think will reassure a lot of people, in high school, I was just about the shyest kid you could find. You know, I couldn't do presentations. If I had to do a 2-minute presentation about something I saw in the news, I would shake like, so today, you know, like I would be literally this. I had no self-confidence, zero, nada, nothing. And through doing YouTube, it grew. It literally built up through doing YouTube, through talking to a camera, it built up. And now public speaking is the easiest thing for me in my life. Like, I would much rather do a presentation than take a test or like write a paper. Presentations are the easiest thing possible because to me, it's like, sometimes I look at a class and I'm like, well, you're all just cameras with faces, you know? It's like, just kind of look at it as if it's like a video. And so, this is something you can train. It's not something predetermined. I thought it was predetermined. I thought I could never get good at public speaking. I could never do this kind of like loud personality almost like for YouTube, but it happens. It just naturally develops itself. And so just keep at it and it's gonna get good eventually. And so that's like the most important thing. Like have a schedule, don't be afraid to try out different things and obey the algorithm in a way. The algorithm, if you play around with the algorithm and like upload regularly, you know, use a catchy title, a catchy thumbnail. Your thumbnail is so important. I can't emphasize that enough. The reason why people click videos most of the time is because the thumbnail looks good. So please, at the very least, make a nice thumbnail or ask someone to make you a nice thumbnail or stuff like that. Like you can really make them pretty easily and make them pretty good. You can take a picture, slap some text on it. That's it. That's all you need to do sometimes. And you know, just keep in mind that like thumbnails have their dimensions you gotta obey, you know, in terms of when you're making the picture. So don't just like make like a square. It's gotta be like the proper format and stuff like that. So make sure to stick by guidelines like that. That's very, very important. But I think that basically covers about, like there's so much more I can talk about, but this video is already hitting like half an hour and I don't want to drag it out much longer. So in this video, we went over the gear you can have in terms of mics, cameras, you know, software, all that kind of stuff, mindsets, how to go about it, you know, your presentation, your background, all that kind of stuff. And I hope that does help you guys out. If you wanted to start making YouTube content or Twitch content for Vanguard or Vanguard Zero, this should hopefully help you guys quite a lot in getting started with that. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it maybe inspired someone to start making Vanguard content. I hope to see more content creators pop up. Keep in mind, Busho loves content creators. They really do reach out to us quite a lot. This year we got to do card reveals even, like that's the level it goes to. You know, the main commentators of every World Championship are YouTubers, you know, and so basically content creators can go really far in this community and Busho really likes to support them. So it's a good game to be a content creator for. Let me put it that way. So I don't regret, and I really love the fact that I've been doing this for 6 years, and I think I could keep going for years more because it's something I love doing, and I'm sure there's a lot of you that would also enjoy it. But on that note, that's basically gonna be it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.